Okay, so what do we have to do? Still another like half hour, right? Okie dokie. So this is great. I'm reading more than we would have, more quickly than we would have. Moving into, because I can't read, see? I just get so overwhelmed. I read a paragraph and I need to process it. Sometimes I'll have thoughts I need to share about it. And that's just the way I'm wired. I cannot remove those thoughts from the queue and just listen. Nope. All the listening its get shut the hell down by the its that are like, hey, wait, we gotta get this thought out. I didn't come into your home to share these thoughts. So, all right. Yeah, just make sure you're not complaining. All right. Let me complain a little bit. Chapter 2, Rationality and Irrationality. Quote from Mr. Spock. May I say that I have not thoroughly enjoyed serving with humans? I find their illogic and foolish emotions a constant irritant. Kahneman, by the way, taught us emotions have nothing to do with it. It's not about emotions versus cognition or emotions versus reason or anything like that. It's just the different its. The mechanisms of system one interacting with each other, the mechanisms of system two interacting with each other, the mechanisms, interact from across, interacting with each other because it's not like they're actual concrete regions. All right, whatever. Rationality is uncool. To describe someone with a slang word for the cerebral, like nerd, wonk, geek, or brainiac, is to imply that they are terminally challenged in hipness. For decades, Hollywood screenplays and rock song lyrics have equated joy and freedom with an escape from reason. Oh, and we see this in a lot of my interviews. Well, I don't know about a lot, but I've seen this in a lot of my conversations. And in my interview on the beach with I think he was German. I can't remember if he was German or Austrian. No, yeah, he was Bavarian. So he was German, and he was like, yeah, but let's be happy. Let's not think about it. Let's not understand it. A man needs a little madness, or else he never dares cut the rope and be free, said Zorba the Greek. Stop making sense, advised Talking Heads. Let's go crazy, adjured the artist formerly known as Prince. Influential academic movements like postmodernism and critical theory, not to be confused with critical thinking, hold that reason, truth, and objectivity are social constructions that justify the privilege of dominant groups. All right, Pinker, we're about to, yeah. I'm with you, Pinker, let's go. These movements have an air of sophistication about them, implying that Western philosophy and science are provincial, old-fashioned, naive to the diversity of ways of knowing found across periods and cultures. To be sure, not far from where I live in downtown Boston, there's a splendid turquoise and gold mosaic that proclaims, "Follow reason." But it is affixed to the Grand Lodge of the Masons, the fez and apron sporting fraternal organization that is the answer to the question, what's the opposite of hip? My own, I got one of these needles in my leggings. One of these, oh, there it is. Oh yeah, shit sticking out. Oh, I got so many. Um, one of, hey, one of, where are we? Oh, my own position on rationality is I'm for it. Though I cannot argue that reason is dope, fat, chill, fly, sick, or to bomb, and strictly speaking, I cannot even justify or rationalize reason, I will defend the message on the mosaic. We ought to follow reason. This is terrible. Section, reasons for reason. To begin at the beginning, what is rationality? As with most words in common usage, no definition can stipulate its meaning exactly, and the definition just leads us in a circle. Most define rational as having reason, but reason itself comes from the Latin ration, often defined as reason. A definition that is more or less faithful to the way the word is used is the ability to use knowledge to attain goals. Knowledge, in turn, is standardly defined as justified true belief. We would not credit someone with being rational if they acted on beliefs that were known to be false, such as looking for their keys in a place they knew the keys could not be, or if those beliefs could not be justified. If they came, say, with a drug-induced vision or hallucinated voice rather than observation of the world or inference from some other true belief. This is interesting. This relates to what the young women in Madrid in one of the interviews. The thumbnail is like Leo and the three young women, and something that they said about how they defined rationality, and that you become rational over your life because you learn. As a kid, you might think you can have a mountain inside of your house, and then you learn that you can't. We need to remove these needles. Goodbye. All right, I think I've got them all. Like another 30 minutes. Okay, continuing. The beliefs, moreover, must be held in service of a goal. No one gets rationality credit for merely thinking true thoughts, like calculating the digits of pi or cranking out the logical implications of a proposition. Either 1 plus 1 equals 2 or the moon is made of cheese. If 1 plus 1 equals 3, then pigs can fly. A rational agent must have a goal, whether it is to ascertain the truth of a noteworthy idea, called theoretical reason, or to bring out a noteworthy outcome in the world, called practical reason. Oh, I have heard of practical reason. Okay, so in my video, What is Reason? Basically nailed it. And just, I said that I talked about objective reality. So, through empiricism, you acquire information, and then reason is about knowing what to do with that information to draw a conclusion about the objective truth of the world. And then there's also things according to objectives. Okay, well, my mic ran out of juice and we cannot wait for it to charge. So, carrying on. Let's pick up. A rational agent must have a goal, whether it is to ascertain the truth of a noteworthy idea, called theoretical reason, or to bring about a noteworthy outcome in the world, called practical reason. What is true and what to do. I don't know when I got cut off. Just real quick. I think what is true, that refers to theoretical reason, and what to do refers to practical reason, number one. Number two, in my video about reason, I was talking about the same thing, but I talked about through empiricism, getting facts about the objective reality and drawing an objective conclusion, and then also the other possibility is to, through empiricism, get facts about the objective reality and also get the facts about people's objectives. And then, according to that objective, finding a conclusion that meets that objective or answers that question. So, all right. And then I said something kind of interesting. Anyway, but don't worry about it. So, what is true? So we can always think of it in the context of what either the question is about the objective world, or what the goals are, what the objectives are. All right. Anyway, but I'm going to try to use theoretical reason, practical reason from now on. Okay. Even the humdrum rationality of seeing rather than hallucinating is in the service of the ever-present goal built into our visual systems of knowing our surroundings. A rational agent, moreover, must attain the goal not by doing something that just happens to work there and then, but by using whatever knowledge is applicable to the circumstances. Here is how William James distinguished a rational entity from a non-rational one that would at first appear to be doing the same thing. William James, of course, wrote Principles of Psychology, 1901 maybe, or 1899. Big psychologist. Big deal. Romeo wants Juliet as the filings want the magnet, and if no obstacles intervene, he moves toward her by as straight a line as they. But Romeo and Juliet, if a wall be built between them, do not remain idiotically pressing their faces against its opposite sides, like the magnet and the filings with the card. Bruh. Romeo soon finds a circuitous way by scaling the wall or otherwise of touching Juliet's lips directly. With the filings, the path is fixed. Whether it reaches the end depends on accidents. With the lover, it is the end which is fixed. The path may be modified indefinitely. Kind of want to just go to Pinker's response, but don't think I'm going to be able to. Wrong, William James. Wrong. But beautiful, and what I literally wrote in my journal yesterday, something like it, which is that I don't know whether I have feelings for Sonia, whether, I want to be with her, any of that stuff. All I knew, and all I've known since I first saw her, was that I would be seeing her again. Was that it wasn't the last time. Was that it might not have even been the first time. Because I swear our souls had met. And I also, a couple months ago, was thinking about saying to her if I ever find her, walking up to her and going, hey, all right, well, thank you for the interview. And she goes, huh? What? And I look around, I go, where the hell are we? And I ignore whatever confusion and fear she's experiencing. And I cut to the romantic line, which is, I don't remember anything since I saw you last. I saw you I don't know what but I was just on a path to come back and see you again. It's just a gap in my... Anyway, that can be cute. Something like that. Okay. Oh, yeah, and then I think another way I phrased it was that I'm not thinking about this. I have no real thoughts or feelings about Sonia or anything. When I met her, she just set my body on a path to talk to her again, to see her again. That's all. She went to Ibiza like a magnet. I got dragged to Ibiza. All right. Were we recording? Because that was nice. All right. Okay. With this so anyway. Oh, and here's how you're wrong, William James. Here's why you're wrong. No, it's just that the magnet doesn't have hundreds of thousands of ifs, of if-then rules. You could maybe describe it as having one, which is, if there is an opposite, charge, then approach. That's it. Humans have another it. If the approach is stunted, then look around. If you see another approach, then consider it. And that, is working with the it that was like, we need to get over there. So then they collaborate, and you go around. There's just not enough collaboration in a magnet and its filings and stuff. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. It wasn't two opposite charges. It was filings and a magnet, right? So yeah, the it for the filings is just like, hey, if magnet, then approach. That's it. With this definition, the case for rationality seems all too obvious.
Do you want things or don't you? If you do, rationality is what allows you to get them. Going to school and having ADHD just wasn't possible for me to believe in this kind of rationality, or in rationality, because that is kind of how it's defined. Because people would just be like, well, if you wanted, or in free will anyway, they were just like, oh, if you wanted to do well in your class, then you'd be doing well. Now, this case for rationality is open to an objection. It advises us to ground our beliefs in the truth, to ensure that our inference from one belief to another is justified. Just at least to check. And you won't really know, but just to check if you see any obvious ways in which it isn't justified. And to make plans that are likely to bring about a given end. But that only raises further questions. Sorry, I got a call. Okay, carrying on. We are on page 38. But that only raises further questions. What is truth? What makes an inference justified? How do we know that means can be found that really do bring about a given end? But the quest to provide the ultimate, absolute, final reason for reason is a fool's errand. Just as an inquisitive 3-year-old will reply to every answer to a why question with another why, the quest to find the ultimate reason for reason can always be stymied by a demand to provide a reason for the reason for the reason. Just because I believe P implies Q and I believe P, why should I believe Q? Is it because I also believe P implies Q and P implies Q? But why should I believe that? Is it because I have still another belief? I don't know actually how to read these. The conjunction of P implies Q and P itself implies Q, the implication of which implies Q. Seems like just a reflective thing, but this regress was the basis for Lewis Carroll's 1895 story What the Tortoise Said to Achilles, which imagined the conversation that would unfold when the fleet-footed warrior caught up to, but could never overtake, the tortoise with the head start in Zeno's second paradox. In the time, and you may know this with the rabbit, in the time it took for Achilles to close the gap, the tortoise moved on, opening up a new gap for Achilles to close ad infinitum. Nope, never mind. It has nothing to do with the rabbit thing. I just wanted to show off that I knew a thing that kind of sounded like this. It was not at all this thing. Excuse me. Carroll was a logician as well as a children's author, and in this article, published in the philosophy journal Mind, he imagines the warrior seated on the tortoise's back and responding to the tortoise's escalating demands to justify his arguments by filling up a notebook with thousands of rules for rules for rules. The moral is that reasoning with logical rules at some point must simply be executed by a mechanism that is hardwired into the machine or brain and runs because that's how the circuitry works, not because it consults a rule telling it what to do. We program apps into a computer, but its CPU is not itself an app. It's a piece of silicon in which elementary operations like comparing symbols and adding numbers have been burned. These operations are designed by an engineer, or in the case of the brain, by natural selection, to implement laws of logic and mathematics that are inherent to the abstract realm of ideas. Now, Mr. Spock notwithstanding, logic is not the same thing as reasoning, and in the next chapter, we'll explore the differences. Okay? But they are closely related, and the reasons the rules of logic can't be executed by still more rules of logic ad infinitum also apply to the justification of reason by still more reason. In each case, the ultimate rule has to be just do it. At the end of the day, The discussants have no choice but to commit to reason, because that's what they committed themselves to at the beginning of the day when they opened up a discussion of why we should follow reason. As long as people are arguing and persuading and then evaluating and accepting or rejecting the arguments, as opposed to, say, bribing or threatening each other into mouthing some words, it's too late to ask about the value of reason. They're already reasoning and have tacitly accepted its value. That is hilarious. Because that is hilarious. I'm forgetting to underline things, by the way. Shit. All right, here's the thing. That's fantastic. As long as people, I want to break that sentence into two parts, or the first clause into two parts. As long as people are arguing and persuading, that's part one, and then evaluating and accepting or rejecting arguments, that's part two, it's too late to ask about the value of reason. And here's what's so funny about that. The number of conversations I've had where people were doing part one, they were definitely arguing, definitely persuaded. There was definitely some back and forth in a constructive or not way. There was no evaluating of what the other person was saying. There was no progress where, real constructive stuff, real constructive steps made where we were accepting or rejecting argument. I like to say that I was, and sometimes the other person. But anyway, let's just keep it general. And despite that, so while they're doing number one, they'll then, rather than doing number two, although they've already done number one, so they have already tacitly accepted the value of this exchange of evidence, of reason, and so on, rather than moving into step two of evaluating and accepting or rejecting the arguments, they move into, that's my opinion, I don't have to justify shit to you. And it's so confusing. Then what are we doing? Why have we just been talking, sharing all this stuff for the last hour? If was it just a show and tell thing? To not learn anything from each other? To not change in any way? Because you keep giving me supposed evidence and premises and conclusions, and you keep disagreeing or agreeing with certain things that I say, as though this conversation matters. And then whenever we are about to maybe make a step in one direction, we're actually going to evaluate what someone has said. We're actually going to talk about either accepting or rejecting a piece of what someone has said. Now all of a sudden it's like, I don't need to justify you. And this happened with my dad, and it was so frustrating. And you could see that it really bothered me. We were just talking about politeness, and I made the claim that a lot of our rules of politeness have no real practical benefit, or maybe that they became rules because they had a practical benefit, but they no longer have a practical benefit, such as keeping your hands on the table, so we know you don't have a knife underneath. I don't know, eating with your mouth closed. I don't know. Sometimes they would have practical benefits. But it's actually just silly, or maybe it's just because humans want to play dress up. They want to pretend, oh, we don't fart, we don't burp, we eat without really moving our mouths, and you can't hear us eat, and all this other stuff. And they're like, oh, so then the elite were all like, oh, so we're not humans. Those peasants are humans. They burp and fart and smell their armpits and scratch and all that stuff. We don't do any of that stuff, and so it's just bullshit anyway. And he says that's your opinion. I didn't say all of that. I just said that. I just said part of it. He said, well, that's your opinion, and I don't agree with that. And I said, okay. So I had given a couple of reasons for my opinion. I said, okay, go on. He said, I don't have to justify anything to you. What's happening? What? You're not that person. I asked you why about your opinion, and you said, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to justify it. I thought that was a weird thing to say. And I think that's where
Weird or not.
Huh?
Weird or not.
Okay. Anyway, I just don't understand the point in having conversations then if it's always just, well, that's my opinion. Your opinion is that manners don't serve any function. My opinion is that they do serve a function, but I'm not going to tell you what they are.
I'm just going to assert that opinion and tell you that your opinion is incorrect. And if you're at all humble and skeptical and are open to my opinion, then you're shit out of luck, because all I'm going to do is tell you what the statement is. I'm not going to give you any of the premises, because I'm going to protect myself, because I feel challenged by you, and I feel like instead of it being like a healthy exchange of information, I feel like you're attacking me and you're saying I'm not allowed to have this opinion. So I'm going to reaffirm the opinion, and I'm going to reaffirm my right to have it without explaining it or without having any reason for it. That's what I hear. And that's unfortunate, between two smart people or between father and son. Don't you think so?
I want to take a photograph of you stuffing that food in your mouth.
Okay, take it.
I don't have my phone. I'd have to stop the recording if I took the photo.
Huh?
I'd have to stop the recording if I took the photo.
I don't think that's true. But that's your opinion, and that's mine.
Of course, the risk of putting too much food in your mouth is choke.
Yeah, there's a risk to me, yeah. Is that the reason that that's your opinion?
Yeah, because then I'd have to give you a fine.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. To encourage that, I won't respond to it. I'll just give you one of these.
See, the problem with getting out here is you've got to hold the dog back, so it takes too long.
I think that when I'm trying to have an exchange, you think it's an argument. That's what I think.
Hold him back.
Neil, come here. But you're just not that person. I know you're not. You're not a person who believes, hey, I have a right to my opinion, and end of story. I don't, it's unhealthy to explain why or anything, or to talk about it or anything. We should just establish.
What are these A's on the car?
Means student.